Duchess of Kent Catherine Mary Lucy Worsley was born on February 22, 1933, and grew up in the countryside at the family home of Hovingham Hall, Yorkshire. Her parents, Sir William and Lady Joyce, sent her to St. Margaret's School in Ranton Hall in Norfolk, where she excelled in music. At the age of 23, Catherine met Prince Edward of England, grandson of King George V and first cousin of Queen Elizabeth II. Edward inherited the title of Duke of Kent at a very young age when his father died in 1942. His mother was Princess Marina of Greece. Symbolizing her commoner origins, Catherine was a direct descendant of France's, daughter of Oliver Cromwell, famous for leading the revolution that overthrew the monarchy in 1649. The couple became engaged 5 years later and celebrated a lavish royal wedding in York in 1961, attended by Queens Ingrid of Denmark and Victoria Eugenia of Spain, and where Juan Carlos Bourbon and Sofia of Greece met. The venue for the wedding, held on June 8th of that year, was York Minster, where Catherine had studied to play the organ and where King Edward III and Philippa of Hainaut had been married 600 years earlier. News reports of the event emphasized that she was a Yorkshire girl marrying the king's grandson, and thousands of locals lined the road from York Minster to watch the couple as they made their way to the party. Sir Richard Buckley, who was the Duke's private secretary for 28 years, recalled Catherine as a fabulous bride. Katharine, Duchess of Kent, is the wife of Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, a first cousin of Queen Elizabeth II. Her mother-in-law was the famous Marina of Greece. Widely regarded as the first marriage of a British prince to a commoner, this union was vehemently opposed by the prince's mother. Marina, Duchess of Kent, twice a princess and a descendant of Russian Tsars, hated the idea of her son marrying a middle-class girl and sent him to Germany to study for a year to forget about her. Seeing that the boys were very much in love with each other, the Dowager Duchess had no choice but to authorize the marriage and looked dazzling at the ceremony. The young Duchess of Kent immediately began her royal duties, and as the wife of an army officer, accompanied the Duke when he was sent to Hong Kong and Germany. Sir Richard Buckley witnessed Catherine's positive influence on her husband, who, when first given royal appointments abroad, was rather shy. Catherine, who was a modern duchess and a big Pink Floyd fan, gave the prince confidence. During her visit to the Brisbane World's Fair Expo 1988, Catherine was considered the Princess Diana of her time. The Kents settled at Anmer Hall, the Royal Sandringham estate, which was the perfect place to raise their children. In 1962, their first child, George Windsor, Earl of St. Andrews, was born. In 1964, Lady Helen Windsor was born, and 6 years later a third, Lord Nicholas Windsor, was born. Unfortunately, ill health haunted the Duchess throughout her life. In 1975, during her fourth pregnancy, she lost a child, and 2 years later tragedy struck again. The pain was overwhelming. It had the most devastating effect on me, she admitted in an interview many years later. I had no idea how devastating it could be for a woman. It made me have tremendous empathy for other people suffering from similar situations. A deep depression began to slowly lead the Duchess away from royal splendor and toward a spiritual life. 2 years later, all those emotions came out, and she was admitted to a hospital for 7 weeks of supervised treatment and rest. I think I would have been a pretty strange person if I hadn't given up under those circumstances, she reflected in 1997. It was a terrible thing that happened, and I didn't think I should give myself time to get over it. It wasn't the best period, but once I got out and got back to normal, I quickly realized that this happens to a lot of people. In her search for spiritual answers, she broke with the traditions of the royal family and converted to Catholicism in 1994 with the Queen's approval. I like guidance, and the Catholic Church gives you guidance. I've always wanted that in my life. I like to know what is expected of me. I like being told, you're going to church on Sunday, and if you don't go, you're missing out before retiring from public life. Catherine was most popular for her role at the Wimbledon Championships, where she presented trophies. The last time she did so was in 2001, presenting them to Venus Williams. A year later, she officially retired from public life, giving up her royal duties to live privately in her own rented apartment away from the royal court. She also gave up the title of Royal Highness, becoming known as Katharine, Duchess of Kent, or simply Katharine Kent. "I don't like being a public figure, and I say that very modestly," she admitted in an interview. "It's my nature, the way I was born. I like to do things quietly behind the scenes. I'm a very shy person." A royal counselor described her as a shy, almost withdrawn figure, even though she attended Prince William's wedding to Catherine Middleton and other important royal family events. There's speculation about the state of her marriage has haunted her since the late 1970s, when she suffered from depression, and many believe she and the Duke of Kent led separate lives. In 2004, speaking in a documentary, she had only this to say about their marriage: "I take care of my family and cook for my spouse." On a more personal level, however, the Duchess continued to pursue activities that fit her caring profile. For 10 years, she secretly taught music at Wansbeck State Primary School in Kingston upon Hull, where her true identity as a member of the royal family remained hidden. "I've always loved talent. I love it when you see talent, and I began to realize that I was teaching very, very gifted children in recent years." She taught as a volunteer teacher to children living in the Greenfield building, which burned down in 2017. On a visit to India in the 1990s, she told a journalist, "I love people, I appreciate them, and what is peace? Not possessions, but people who take care of each other." Despite initial difficulties, Katharine quickly adapted to her role in the royal family and accompanied her husband on his overseas assignments. The couple raised 3 children and lived on the royal estate of Anmer Hall. However, Katharine faced serious health problems, including depression after losing 2 children. Seeking spiritual solace, Katharine converted to Catholicism in 1994, an unusual move for a member of the royal family. She was also known for her role at the Wimbledon tournament, where she presented trophies until 2001. In 2002, Katharine officially retired from public life, preferring to live a quiet and modest life. Despite speculation about the state of her marriage, Katharine continued to care for her family and do charity work. She secretly taught music in a public school and did volunteer work. Katharine, Duchess of Kent, remains an example of dedication and modesty, preferring to help people behind the scenes.